Can you hear me now? Let me try a sound check. Somebody's saying yes. Yes, that you can hear me? Yes, Sylvia Corindus. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. All right, good. We got sound back. Now, if we can just get the virtual screen back, I will feel a whole lot better at what I'm doing here. But that's what happens when you don't come on but once a year. You have to suffer the new beginnings again. We worked through all of the changes that came in, between YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn tonight. So we really are stretching our broadcast out because we want to reach that 1,000 mark. We are at 930 right now. We are at 930. So we're getting there, and we really made a lot of work yesterday. We put a real dent in it. So thank you all for helping me out to make this a success. And it's these things that I never forget. My next book I'm going to dedicate to y'all. That's what we're going to do. All right. I was laughing earlier. I was in here trying to mess around with my green screen and setting up my background. I expected a piece of equipment today that didn't show up. So I was in here messing around trying to work without it. And I saw y'all talking about Dominique got in early again. and y'all was trying to beat her. Y'all are too much. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, we've got some work to do. So let's get with it. If you still have not registered, please go ahead and register. Please go ahead and register. It helps us out a lot. And, you know, we do it for free. So if you can just do some free things for us, it would help us out tremendously. So if you haven't registered, please go to my website, www.suzannemhoward.com, and register. And if you go to the website that I just gave you and you go to events, and you'll see 2 events, just look for 30 Day So Detox or So Detox 2023. And just make sure you register. I need your information, please. It helps us out a lot, an awesome, awesome lot. And then for all of y'all techies, and then for the non-techies that I really stretched you and had you go to your Apple or Android or Google app icon on your phone, and you went in and you downloaded the Spaces app, the blue Wix, WIX Spaces app. Thank you so much. So many of y'all have, and you are now showing up on my side as private members. You're all showing up as private members. So because you're showing up as private members, you can communicate with me there one-on-one. And for those that I actually have as clients, I've logged you in under my client. So the other coaches can't even read your information. So just to give you that extra level of confidentiality, it is there. Please go on and just download the app. Downloading the app is free, and setting up your membership profile is free. And all of our communication is right there. A few of y'all are still inboxing that you have not found your assessments yet. At this point, we are not going to send out any more because we're working through the ones that we have. Sunday, I believe Ebony sends them out again. And if that's not true, Ebony, just put it up here in the chat and let me know. But usually on Sunday, we send out the assessments again, and you have until Monday night to return them to us so that we can keep a, what do you call it? We can keep a preventative profile on how you have been doing through this process. What maybe triggered your assessments to be different than the week before? How are you at the end of the 30 days, and all the great things that are going to continue to happen with you? Yep. Assessments will be sent again on Sunday night. So don't worry about this week. We'll jump on to next one. And we still have 3 that we can do. So it's enough to give us an idea of where you stand assessment wise. So thank you very much. Download the app, go ahead and register, and let's get your assessments ready. All right. I think I'm ready to start tonight. We don't have so much of the business to work out that we had to work out in the first few days. So we can go ahead and get started. So let's talk about it. You know what we're talking about. We're here tonight because we're talking about defense mechanisms. And whether you know it or not, and I'm sure you do by now, you are most likely in a constant battle with your defenses. We all are. Day to day, we battle with reality, how we can cope, how we can make our life better, and what level of effort is actually needed for us, you and I, to survive our current circumstances. We wrestle with ourselves, and reality is our opponent. Defense mechanisms are necessary and useful to every human being on this planet. So you're not alone. You're not crazy. Let me validate you tonight. If we did not possess the ability, we would not survive. Even persistent and overly protective defenses indicate resiliency, often leftovers from some troublesome part in our life, our past life, or just our life experiences. Tonight, as I promised, we're going to deal with defense mechanisms versus coping mechanisms. And we dealt with them briefly. We touched on them last night, but tonight we're going to deal with the term that I gave y'all that some of you probably heard it for the first time: adaptive and maladaptive coping mechanisms. Adaptive and maladaptive coping mechanisms. And I've been looking at some of y'all notes in the chat, and y'all have been doing a wonderful job. Emmanuel Scroose, you are not late, and you are welcome, sir. We're glad to have you here with us. Let me put this over here on the screen, and then let's start talking for a little bit. All right. So welcome to your session. This is just you and I here. Don't worry about anyone else. Feel free to use the chat to post your ouches and your oohs and your mic drops, any revelation or enlightenment you may get, any takeaways that you get. Please feel free to post them in the chat. That is a way that we can all do group therapy together. But I want you, for the sake of getting the best out of your life coach sessions, that you have 30 of them for the rest of this entire month. I want you to focus on you and I. I want you to go to a place in your mind that you have come to my office, and my office is on a very nice oceanside cliff in Hawaii. And there's a back window that's open behind the couch that you're sitting or lying down on. The breeze is blowing. It's a nice breeze. It's warm. It's not hot out. And we can smell the beautiful ocean air. It's fresh water. And I'm sitting there at your disposal. I'm there to listen, to hear, to discern, to advise or counsel where I'm able to. But most of all, I am providing a safe space for you that is void of judgments and gossip, and a place that makes you feel that you have to be at the top of your game. Can you see it? Brittany's there. Pastor D is there. Corindus is going to get me there tomorrow so she and I can have that session there, a safe space. If you're there, if you're able to take yourself someplace in your mind, I want you to take a nice breath in your nose. And I want you to breathe out your mouth. And I want you to feel it in your head. I want you to feel that breath going through your neck. I want you to feel that breath going through your shoulders and lifting off all of the stress and worries and cares of this day. And I want you to take another breath. Come on, breathe in your nose and out your mouth. And I want you to say, I'm in a safe place and I'm going to get the best out of my session today. And then I want you to take another deep breath. Come on, in your nose, out your mouth. And I want you to say that I'm in a trusted environment. I will not be judged. I will not be laughed at. I will not be talked about. This is a place that has been carved out in time just for me. And I want you to loosen your legs and stop holding your muscles and your calves and your buttocks really tight. I want you to loosen your shoulders down and just relax. And I want you to let me drive for a little while and you just enjoy the drive. You're in the most beautiful, serene setting and the bill has already been paid. So you don't have to worry about paying the bill upon checkout. It's all been taken care of. And now relax, trust your guide, and let's journey together on this fourth night of Soul Detox 2023. Let's talk about adaptive and maladaptive coping mechanisms that may be in your life. Welcome to your session. There are two types of coping mechanisms: adaptive, which means healthy. My coaches can put that in the chat. Adaptive, which means healthy, and maladaptive, that means unhealthy. Finding ways to cope can even be stressful in itself, as the stress can often cloud your judgment on the best way to handle these stressors and challenging emotions. I see my coaches haven't posted anything. I think they may be on the cliff of the mountain in Hawaii. All right, let me go ahead and just take 1 second. I'm going to post it myself. We'll get it up here. Okay, there goes Latanya. Thank you. So it's on the screen. We're going to do a lot of the work for you tonight because tonight you might not write. Tonight might be a hashtag replay. I should have everything uploaded on our podcast, and you can just put your earbuds or your headphones on and just take the flow in through your ears, and you don't have to worry about keeping up with the chat or keeping up with the screen, or if I pronounced a word clearly enough for you to hear it over the internet. Tonight, you may just be in that zone where you're actually on the couch in one of the safest places you could ever be. So even in finding ways to cope can be stressful, as stress can often cloud our judgment on which is the best way to handle stressors and challenging emotions that go on throughout our body. This may lead to what we call adopting maladaptive patterns of coping. But with the right tools in place, before a stressor hits, utilizing adaptive strategies is the best path forward. Utilizing adaptive strategies is the best path forward. And that's why you are here. This is the reason you are here. Not to just become the best you that you can be, but you want to learn to not stress about finding a better life. You want to be able to not stress or have unhealthy emotions at trying to live a peaceful life. It should not be stressful to find peace. It should not be stressful to be happy. Just like we shouldn't be guilty to be happy. Yes, they do, Iris. These sessions will be on YouTube for years and years to come. And they are on my podcast, and you can get the podcast anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And I recommend just putting your ears in instead of watching it again, unless you're more of a visual learner, just putting your ears in. And when you go through it a second time, perhaps just listen so you can write. But now we want to be in the moment, and I want you in the moment here with me. So when we have these stressful days and emotions and life situations, events and circumstances, this causes us to adopt maladaptive patterns just to cope in our lives. What my goal is with you is, at least if I can get one thing done, is to help you learn to put the right tools in place before stress hits, especially before it takes a physical manifestation in your body. Adaptive coping mechanisms are positive and life-enhancing ways of dealing with stressors. Adaptive coping mechanisms are positive and life-enhancing. This is the goal of a mental health coach. My goal is to be life-enhancing to you, to my client, and to give you life-enhancing tools and resources, ways of dealing with stress. Because I thank God that you're alive, and I thank God that you survived everything that you survived. But staying alive and surviving doesn't mean tragedy, pain, sadness, stress is not going to be a part of a living person's life, because it is. And trying to avoid stress is an oxymoron. It's not going to happen. Even if you find a way to live peaceful, someone else's stress is going to creep across your boundary line. And that's why you enhance the boundary to say, look, this is the extent of how far I'm willing to go with you on this, because your lack of planning in your life is affecting my life now. So there has to be resources and tools to put in place, because stuff is going to happen. I want you to know tonight, and I want you to take this truth in. especially of those of us that struggle with trust. How many of you on here can admit you struggle at some level of trust? It takes me a while to trust people. From the beginning, I trust no one. Or do you trust everyone from the beginning and then they have to back out of that place that you've given them? Yep. The enemy loves the fact that we can't trust anyone. He loves that. But I want you to trust in this statement tonight. There are healthier coping mechanisms that support you and that support your life and the direction that you actually want your life to go, especially when dealing with stress. People are running to coaches all over right now. Hi, Elise. People are running to coaches all over the world right now, looking for a better way to live. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard that this month is now designated and set aside as dry January. They're giving up alcohol for the month. One woman said she's lost so much weight that she's going to really struggle between going back to drinking and trying to continue on with this healthy life. Others have said they saved so much money not drinking. Others said they're sleeping better without the alcohol, that they drink alcohol to sleep. They drink it excessively. There's a difference with having a drink and drinking excessively. And she would do that so she could sleep and realize that she sleeps better without the alcohol. These are just some statements from other people. But these are all coping mechanisms that we use, and that would be maladaptive coping mechanisms. So while people are in this dry January, they're confronting a lot of the things that having more than 1 or 2 glasses of wine, or if you're in the house, maybe 3 glasses of wine, but if you're out in public, they're facing what it is that has them needing this alcohol at such a consuming level. Okay? There are healthier coping mechanisms that can help you support your life and the direction you want it to go. This one woman in particular was on the news. I think it was the Today Show on maybe Tuesday, just to fact check me. And she hired a dry coach. She hired like a sobriety coach, and not someone from AA or NA. This is what this woman does. This is her coaching business. And she's hired her and she's given her recipes for some very delicious mocktails. And, this is what she wants to do. I'm not pushing it either way from anyone. Our conversation will begin with just you and I. And there's coaches out there for everything. And people are hiring coaches because they need that elders direction in their life. They need that eldership direction in their life. They need that senior advice, that wise counsel, especially since the whole family line has been broken down. So I want you to understand that no matter what it is, because the last couple of nights we spent talking about searching out some of the things that set us up, some of the things that set us behind, some of the matters and events or triggers that come up in our life that bring us threats or fear or embarrassment or shame, things we don't want to acknowledge. And we come up with these defense mechanisms. Remember, it's unbeknownst, it's unconscious to us. We come up with these defense mechanisms to help us get through the threats, the fears, the shame, the issues that we are avoiding. And when you go sober, this is the part they should probably check back with these people in 30 days and find out that how did you do? Because I'm sure they may have appreciated saving the money and they may have appreciated sleeping better and, some of the effects that excessive drinking can do to you. I bet you they realize that they probably need therapy, or there are some things that they really are just trying to just forget. So it's not so much of just trying to go sober or trying to live a healthier life. Most of the things that are in our lives that are unhealthy are there for a reason. When we work with someone to get them to stop smoking or to get off drugs or alcohol or gambling or any of those such things, even excessive sexual partners, especially for people who they live a high risk life where they do drugs and they share drugs with other people. I don't even care if it's just passing a cigarette or a joint to each other. It's COVID. It's Omicron, it's variants, and all of these things now are called high risk behavior, because if we know that there are all of these drugs out here, why are we exchanging spit even on a cigarette or a marijuana joint? Alcohol, excessive alcohol, all of these things that we're doing, we usually do them because there's something deeper at a subconscious level. Because I can hear some of you all saying right now, no, I just drink to enjoy myself. I just enjoy a nice drink after work. I enjoy a strong cocktail. I love wine with my meal. That's usually how it starts. But it's normally because there's something deeper going on. If you are led into excessive drinking or excessive chain smoking, or you have to wake and bake, and then you have to smoke in the middle of the day and smoke at night, it's something deeper going on. And you have actually formed a maladaptive coping mechanism, an unhealthy way of coping with something else in your life. And I want you to rest assured that with the list that I have you working on for these 30 days, there is actually a better way to live, a healthier way to live that can work with what you would like, not what anyone else would like, what you would like for your life, and to do it without stress and not needing to depend on other things to say, I'm stressed out. That's why I'm smoking. I'm doing this. And that's why I'm going shopping because of this. And, we lean on and we lean into maladaptive behavior, unhealthy behavior patterns. So those who choose adaptive coping mechanisms tend to have a positive outlook and can strengthen their mental health, even if they have a history of mental health issues. I want you to hear that again. Those who choose adaptive, healthy coping mechanisms tend to have a positive outlook and can strengthen their mental health, even if they've had past mental health issues. Why am I taking the time to stress that and to repeat that? Because I don't want you to think that the way you are is always the way you're going to be. You make that choice, and you make that choice every single day that you get up. Am I going to continue in the same patterns of yesterday or yesteryears? Or is this going to be the day that I extend my hand for help? There's free help if you can't afford financially to invest in these people helpers and these resources to help you change your life in the direction that you want it to go. Every single day, when your eyes open, you have been given a chance to choose the direction of that day and the direction of the rest of your life. What is it that is on your heart and your mind when you wake up in the morning that causes you to choose the same things over and over again that you really don't like, or they're not beneficial to your life? They're not adding to your life. Only you know those, because I can look at your life and say, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And you may say, I like this and I like this and I like this. These are not the things that I want to stop doing. What I want to stop doing is this. And to me, I could say, well, to me, that's not even a big problem, but it's important to you. So what is it that keeps you doing that? I had such a personal revelation today in my sessions, and it was just illuminating and revelatory for me. And it brought me into such a place of exhale, but it also brought me into such a place like, this is a coping mechanism. People, y'all, can be a coping mechanism for us. Can I go there for a minute? You think y'all ready? You want me to stick to the program? You want me to stick to my template that I have mapped out for these 30 days? Or are y'all open for a sidebar? I mean, we're on this beautiful island of Hawaii. We're on the cliff. The sun is out. It's not going to be dark for a while. The breeze is blowing. I've been waiting for you, Karen, to drop that mic. most people, okay, I'll go this way first. Sometimes we wonder why people stay in abusive relationships. And most often, people stay in abusive relationships, even when they don't know why they do, is because something about that person or that relationship, whether it's an external thing this person is bringing, finances, or let's just say they're bringing companionship, they're bringing having, that extra person in the house with you. We may say something like, well, they cook, I don't cook. External things, or it can be something internal. We can fantasize someone in our life having a position in our life or role that they really don't have. We have fantasized them in that role, in that position, and we are using them. Come on, let's be honest tonight. We use people, even people who may have abused us and mistreated us and lied about us and gossiped about us and stolen from us. We use them because there's some fear, there's some maladaptive thinking behavior inside of us that we have fantasized these people as answering that need to something we have. And we are in toxic and unhealthy relationships because we put these people in a position or role that they're probably not even fulfilling. An example. Okay, here's a better one. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Let's just start with women first. No father in your life. Maybe you knew him. Maybe you never met him. I've heard stories of many people meeting their fathers in their late 20s and 30s in life. And after they met him one time, he's never taken advantage of the relationship and pursued them any further than that. They left it up to him if he wanted it, but because he didn't pursue them, they let it go. But every day inside, they're hoping, expecting, desiring. The little kid is crying for that relationship with their father, but they're not going to pursue him because they feel he ought to pursue them. So using this as our example tonight, you can subconsciously look out for another man that has some similar behavior to your father, an adaptive, a healthy behavior. You feel safe and secure with him. He's a protector. Or an unhealthy behavior. He yells, he argues, he stays out late, he disappears, he's a drunk. Maladaptive, poor behaviors in his life. And you can be attracted to someone's poor behavior, to someone's dysfunction, because it reminds you of the one thing maybe you do know about your dad. And subconsciously, that man, let's turn it now the other way, or that woman becomes a coping mechanism for you to get through the void of feeling the threat of not having your father, the fear of not having your father. And every time you think of what it's like not to have your father, maybe someone did something to you as a child and you believe that if my father was there, they would not have been able to do this to me. If a male figure was there, he could have protected me. Now listen, sometimes if your parent was there, they probably could not have protected you in particulars, in some situations. But for the mind to make you feel better about a horror or a trauma or a fear that happened to you as a child, you bought into believing even your dad is a fantasy. If my dad was here, he would have protected me. My dad would have provided for me. This wouldn't have happened. This person wouldn't have done this to me if they saw a male figure around me. So for you, it is very important for you to always have a man around you because you have bought in that daddy, that male, that men bring me security. So even if he abuses me, there's a sense of security. Even if he's drunk and sleep half the time, there's a sense of security. And people and relationships can actually be maladaptive coping mechanisms in our life. Y'all all right? I see a testimony already. Someone said, until I met my father and he told me out of his own mouth he didn't want me, my views and thoughts of him were pure fantasy. And then we involve people in our lives because they're actually helping us cope with the absence of our father or the absence of our mother. And sometimes it can be so, what would be the word for this? It can be so, from the outside, I would call it toxic, but for the parties involved, so fairy tale that that other partner even begins to play that role. They actually start playing the role of your mother or your father or a spouse that you love that had passed on. People, bad relationships, abusive relationships, toxic people can be coping mechanisms that we use. I don't think I've met a woman yet. Listen, y'all. I've offered no judgment to y'all, so don't judge me. I haven't met a woman yet. I haven't. I'm not saying there aren't any out there. I haven't met a woman yet who was not in an abusive or toxic relationship that through much help and counsel and sobriety, and her sobriety wasn't from drugs and alcohol. It was fantasy. She had to become sober from the fantasies and the beliefs and the thoughts that she made up and believed in herself. I haven't met a woman yet that was in a physically abusive, mentally, emotionally, psychological, any kind of abusive relationship that was not in that relationship because she was using that partner for herself. Come on, sis. I'm reading it. I'm not going to post you up here on my screen, but you're writing some good stuff in this chat on Facebook. I have not met one woman who was in an abusive relationship that we feel so bad for, physically abusive, sexually abusive, an adult partner, and wasn't in it because she didn't believe she was getting something out of it. We use each other. And that's okay when it's healthy. Y'all who know me know that I believe in God. I don't make this solely about God, but because I'm in it, he's in it. But you don't have to believe in it. But I can share from my side and my view and my experience that God wants us to be coping mechanisms for each other. The strong bear the infirmities of the weak. The apostles who met the man at the gate called Beautiful extended their hand to them. They were offering help. They were taking him out of a situation and help him cope with his situation by helping him move forward. But when you have become united in a partnership with someone who is toxic and it's unhealthy for you, that's very maladaptive behaviors. And most of the times we signed up for it. Yeah. We may not have let me go back. Without therapy or counsel, most people never even realize. And when they come to the realization that I actually could not leave this person's toxicity and abuse because I was using them for something too, it's a rude and a very bright awakening from them. Yep, I see y'all putting your truths up on the screen. They're on Facebook talking. Somebody says, I'm here for this. I'm here for the healing. Think about it. How many times have you complained about the abuse that you put up with in a relationship? Now look back. Take the time to journal yourself and be honest with your feelings. Talk about it with someone, not a friend or a family member. Talk about it with a minister or a pastor. Heck, armchair psychology, your hairdresser, your barber, or a bartender. Go have your mocktail and sit at the the bar and talk to the bartender. They give what we call armchair psychology, free therapy. Your barbers, your hairdressers, they all do it. And you will find out just from talking from yourself, all they have to do is keep wiping the counter, keep cutting your hair, keep styling your hair. You don't need any advice back from them. They don't even need to have a degree to work with you because the answers are already inside of you. Just talking it out, you will realize, I was using him or her for this emotional blank. And that's why I tolerated this. That's why I put up with this. Whoever needs it right now, let's breathe in our nose and out our mouths, because that was a lot of healing right there. Let me continue on a little bit. There are healthier coping mechanisms that can support your life than the toxic relationship you're in right now. There are healthy coping mechanisms that can support the change in your life, the forward movement in your life, bringing you peace. What do we know in our Bible? For I know the plans that I have for you. You know, that person was your plan. That was your plan. But there is a higher being. There is a God of this universe. I call him Yeshua Messiah. I call him Jesus. And he says he knows the plans that he has for me. And his plans are of a beautiful future, not to harm me, not to hurt me, to prosper me. And that's not just financially, in my soul, to prosper me. Trust his plan. Come out of defense mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms. I was talking to my granddaughter this morning and we saw two little kids. I mean, she said they're high schoolers and they're in love, obviously. They walk to school every morning, arm in arm, early in the morning. And I said to her, somebody needs to break that up. And she says, why? It's beautiful, Mima. I said, because they're too young. She says, too young for what? I said, too young for that level of love that I see on them right now. I said, sweetheart, do you know how many times we're going to change and change again and possibly change again before we leave this earth? And oftentimes that cute little girl and that cute little boy that fall in love in high school creates this family. And then one or both of them begin to start growing into themselves. They grow out of the high school mindset, just like they grow out of the high school shoes and the high school clothes. They gain a self-esteem. They gain a self-confidence. They gain an education. And I said, they're going to change. And they may be too afraid to leave each other because whatever they were going through in high school or in their home or just being young people, they both have brought each other a sense of security against the fears of life. They both have become coping pieces for the other one. And when you buy into this at such a young age and you gel and you mold this, it can become a really sad love story. And she's looking at me like, I said, just trust me, sweetheart. You're going to go and you're going to grow and you're going to change so many times. And who you were in high school as a girl is not who you're going to be at 25 and 35 as a woman. You're going to change. And how do you undo all of that? I'm talking to somebody here tonight. I feel the peace of God on me right now. I don't feel rushed. I don't feel anxious. I don't feel overly excited that I do normally feel when I'm teaching. I feel the peace of God on me right now. Those who choose adaptive coping mechanisms tend to have a positive outlook and can strengthen their mental health, even with a history of mental health challenges. Dealing with these challenges head on builds self-confidence, builds your self-esteem, so that you and I can learn to handle life stressors healthily. If we always run to unhealthy patterns, unhealthy defense and coping mechanisms, if we're always running to something to soothe us instead of dealing with life challenges head on, We are losing life lessons of self-confidence. We are losing the life lesson that's going to build our self-esteem. I see it so many in the parenting styles of today. These parents they're removing important and valuable life lessons from their children's lives because they don't want them to go through anything. They're parenting through their own failures and their own weaknesses and their own needs and what I didn't get and what I needed and wish I had this. And they're overcompensating children now, and they're voiding them of very valuable life lessons that will cause them to be healthy adults, self-confident men, self-confident women, women who have a self-esteem, men that have a self-esteem. They're void of these life lessons, and it's taken them much longer in life to actually reach an adult level of maturity. We use a scale in our family mediation sessions on what a child should be doing between the ages of 0 to 2 and 2 to 5 and 5 to 7 and 7 to 9. And when you look at that list, it almost like it gets to a certain point and people stop growing. We become fixed in our mindset. We got potty trained, and that was the last thing we learned. We learned how to cross the street by ourselves. That was the last thing we learned. And we may not have been taught it. We may have had to learn it on our own because no one showed up to pick us up from school, or they left us one too many times after school waiting for them. So we have fears. And with these fears that come in of waiting for the school bus or waiting for someone to show up or waiting for mom or dad to pick me up on the weekends and they didn't come in, this stuff turns into fear and we get coping mechanisms. So when we deal with our challenges now as adults, not the child, we're adults now. We have to face these mental health issues head on. What qualifies me or a coach? And many of y'all said you want to sign up to learn mental health coaching. What helps us with this is the therapist deals with mental health illnesses. Everyone doesn't need a therapist. And I'm not voiding a therapist. I have to have one, especially because of the field that I'm in. We have to check in. But not everyone needs a therapist. Not everyone has mental health illnesses. Some of them are just issues. If you think or you know that you have issues, type it on the screen. I have issues. And this is supposed to be the purpose of the church and the purpose of functional, healthy relationships. Not your relationship partner isn't supposed to be there for a coping mechanism because you don't want to face the fact that you wanted a dad or you wanted a mom or that you were touched or you were abandoned or you suffered some form of trauma. That's not your spouse's responsibility. And you may not even love them. You may dishonor them and disrespect them. Come on, how about this one right here? You may even take them for granted because you can't appreciate who they are or what they bring to the relationship because you're not in need of all of the beautiful things that they bring. You don't even notice the beautiful things that they bring. What you notice is that they're filling the void that I have in my heart for blank or blickety blank. Not everyone needs therapy. Some of us just have issues and we need to talk these issues out. Can you go to therapy for it? Absolutely. But this is why we have mental health life coaches, because you can keep going to therapy and keep going to therapy and keep going to therapy, and you can't figure out why I'm not getting helped because you need a different form of people help. Yours isn't so much in regression of your past. You need help moving forward. You have issues. I have issues. I need help moving forward. Therapy helps me dig in that pot and find out what's in there so that one day I can begin to move forward. Some of us, we don't have a pot that we need to dig in, or that work has already been done. And the illness has been resolved or healed or is in the process of being helped. Perhaps I have medication, but how do I move forward? So find a healthy way to allow yourself, but first you're going to have to trust, to allow yourself to face some of these things that are going to come up over these 30 days head on. What you're going to gain over these 30 days in self-confidence and self-esteem is going to be like 10 years of counseling. I just had a client, a beautiful young millennial. She's with me a little over a year, about a year and a half. And she said, when I came in here, I think I was probably 12 or 13 years old in my heart and my mind. She's a millennial though. And she said, I'm leaving here and I'm probably just a few years shy mentally in my heart and my mind of my true age. I feel like I have grown up 10 to 15 years in the year and a half that I've been in here with you. It plummets your self-esteem and your self-confidence when you begin to face issues head on with someone who's trained and someone who's not judging you and someone who's always lending a hand and not saying, girl, I'm tired of picking you up. I'm tired of hearing about that relationship. I'm tired of hearing about this issues. This is what we do when we continually give friends and family our problems. They're not trained professionals. They just want to love their sister. They want to love their brother. They just want to love their friend. They don't want to be your therapist. And even though it's good to share things with people, there has to be a cutoff limit because people they're not anointed for it. They're not trained for it. And they're going to get tired of hearing the same thing over and over from you. You need a place, someone who can help you move forward. Come on, type on the screen, move forward. So my prayer for you is that over these 30 days that you will begin to face some, if not all, of your issues head on so that we can increase your self-esteem and increase your self-confidence. It may be a little fearful. This work is fearful because you may have to change, not lose. Take the wording out. Sometimes words are so significant to some of us, and the words alone that we use cause a threat and a fear to us, and they keep us from moving forward in life. Don't think of I'm losing you. I'm moving forward from you. If I change, all these people in my life are going to be affected. They already don't like that I'm on soul detox. They don't want me to change. They like me the way I am. They get some coping mechanisms from me being the way I am. Me being this way gives them a safe place. It gives them a place to stay the same. It gives them a place not to have to change and be accountable and responsible and move forward. I'm not that person anymore. I choose tonight on January 5th at 7:59 p.m. that I don't want to be that person for my loved ones and my friends. I want to move forward. And I'm going to put my fear aside and I'm going to trust in this process and I'm going to do it at the sake of losing these people that I know really do love me. They really do love me. But together, we're going nowhere. I want to increase in my self-esteem and increase in my self-confidence. And I get to take advantage of it for $125 an hour times 30 hours with a zero bill. Come on, take my hand. Take my hand. Come on, take my hand. Come with me. Let's journey. Don't give up. Don't get on late. Don't miss your sessions. Don't skip a replay. Replay every day anyway. Take my hand. Come on. Let's do this together. I promise you, it's so much peaceful and so much self-validation and love on the other side. Moving forward. My time is up. I didn't even get a chance to hit the maladaptive coping mechanisms. And I don't want to keep y'all any longer. What I'll do to try to give a short list, and then I can go into a little bit more of the teaching. You know what I'll do just to keep it even? Let me see. Do I need to do it? All right. I'm going to give you this just so we can keep it even. Yeah. Replay every day anyway. Let me give you this just so we can have a good balance. Thank you, Corindus. Do y'all think y'all all right if I stop here? Or do you just need that other piece? Because I gave you adaptive coping mechanism. Do you need that piece for maladaptive coping mechanisms, or y'all be all right for tonight? Let me see what y'all put up here. I see Corinda's put up yes. Replay. The hour went by too fast. Yeah, your heart was ministered to tonight. Your soul was ministered to tonight. All right, let me just give you this, and this might be able to keep you. Some maladaptive coping techniques that we use in our life. Substance abuse, when consumption becomes excessive. Rumination, extreme and ongoing focus on depressive things. Emotional numbing, when we shut down our feelings. And we're going to go in, we're probably going to spend a day on each one of these because they're heavy. Sometimes like, nope, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me. But when we can break it down, and I have the gift to break things down in lay terms and layman terms, you may say, oh, that is me. I didn't think of it in that way. Escape. How many of y'all are grand escape artists? You're better than Houdini. You would change your behavior and your conversation. You even take back things that you said just to avoid a situation or even to avoid difficult feelings. Intrusive thoughts, unwelcome or involuntary ideas and thoughts. These are all maladaptive coping mechanisms. Daydreaming. While occasional daydreaming is okay, it gives your mind a peace. You know, we daydream because your mind just takes a beep. Your mind just takes a break. But excessive daydreaming is a maladaptive coping mechanism. It's unhealthy. It's escapism and usually lands us into fantasy land. We'll talk more on it. Procrastination is a maladaptive coping mechanism. Self-harm and binge eating, blaming others and over self-blaming, risk-taking, high-risk lifestyle behavior. When we're having unprotected sex, multiple sexual partners, engaging in prostitution, whorish activities, sensitization, overly rehearsing events in your life over and over and over and over, anxious avoidance, avoiding situations or events that may not necessarily do you have any fact that may cause you to be upset. Unfortunately, this causes you to never confront your fears or to unlearn your unhealthy, faulty beliefs. Removing or avoiding such unpleasant experiences may cause the behavior to worsen. That's why you need to go through with it with someone. Maladaptive coping mechanisms such as avoidance coping. How many of y'all avoid things? Avoidance coping. Do you know, I know this, there's someone else that has told me this has happened in their life, but there was a time where I wouldn't even open up my mail. I was so overwhelmed with life. I was avoiding my mail. Has anybody been there before? Maladaptive coping mechanisms such as avoidance coping is harmful and generally can cause more stress and difficult emotions as a result of avoiding it. It's making it worse. Maladaptive coping means participating in activities that are counterproductive and can and will worsen your existing feelings of stress. The immediate effects of maladaptive coping can appear to be helpful in the immediate here and now, which is why many people engage in this way of behavior, in this way of coping. However, in the long term, individuals are left feeling worse. Examples of maladaptive coping mechanisms: heavy drinking, drug use, gambling, impulsivity, and other risky or self-harming behaviors. When individuals choose, this is a choice you make every single day. When individuals choose maladaptive coping mechanisms, they tend to have a more grim outlook on life. Remember the adaptive coping mechanisms? They have a better outlook on life. Overall, they're better people to even be around. The maladaptive coping mechanism, those who choose that, has a grim outlook as their choice of coping includes something that can further worsen their feelings and beliefs over the long term. This way of coping highlights how individuals who choose maladaptive coping mechanisms may be trying to avoid and numb stress to the point where it numbs them with life. By not taking a head-on approach like we do with adaptive coping mechanisms, the patterns of processing feelings and moving past them become delayed, devoid, avoided, and maybe forever absent. And over time, those emotions multiply, creating even more challenging experiences related to existing stressors. That's my spot tonight. I pray that something has come across this airway tonight that has challenged your old way of thinking and has ignited a motivation in you to get with a friend who maybe is on here and you two can do it together, or get with someone who's not on here that you can be accountable to. Get into therapy, hire a mental health coach, lock in with the minister or pastor of your church. Find someone that you believe that can help you and not judge you and get you out of this thing. You got 30 days and we're down to what? 26 now. Let's get our work done. You ready to decree and declare? Let's go. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. God bless you. Good night. And I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same station. I'll be praying for you. And I pray that the wind of prayers will blow in your household tonight. And you will hear this apostle making pleas unto heaven to intervene in the affairs that you have going on in your life that you want to have prosper in a much more functional way. God bless you. I love you, and good night. Let it Let it